Today, I want to tell you about a 3-step method to think directly in English, because this is one of the main things that I found that a lot of international closers struggle, which is translating directly in their own language before they actually speak in English. You already know what you want to say in your head, but the problem is that most of the times it comes out slow and in a natural way because you're stuck translating in your head. You have all this information, but you are hesitating and creating doubts as to how you want to express those ideas. You're not sure the way you're going to come across, so you start hesitating about your ability to deliver that information. The idea here is to show you how you can actually bypass the translation process with a few simple steps that will force your brain to think directly in English. It's a method that can help any closer make the transition into the US market. I want you to think of translation as a software. The problem is if you just have a few computing units in your head busy with the translation process, then you're gonna become laggy, you're gonna become stuck, you're gonna sound awkward. I want you to think of like the first times that you use computer. Well, I'm not sure how old you are, but I'm older than you. So when computers started becoming a thing back in the day, they were really, really slow. So if you wanted to process something that today would be done like literally in less than a second, it might take a few minutes to process all that information. And you want to achieve a result which is providing a solution for the prospect so that you can get the sale. The problem is if you don't really spend way more time in English in your head, then all those little micro tasks that you need to perform in the sales call, like building up the trust, building up the connection, building up the report, bridging in the gaps between the problem and the solution, all those little things are going to become way harder for you to process and also to close, and the prospect is going to become also hesitant about your ability to deliver the expertise that he's looking for. So the way to achieve this is to actually start doing shit in English, man. Just start watching videos, start watching other people performing sales calls, start watching your own sales calls, and analyzing every single detail, because basically all this delay is causing a translation problem which makes you sound hesitant and unprofessional. Successful English speakers, the way they overcome this is that basically bypass all this translation process, because if you do this will allow your personality and your authenticity to come through, which is actually what closes the deals. I'm sure you have seen this over and over again in a million videos on YouTube about people telling it's all about showing up as authentic and as someone who the other person can trust so that you can build up the connection. Imagine how hard it can be for you and for the prospect to believe that you are an authentic person if you even start having doubts about every 2 words that come out of your mouth. That's going to be really hard for them. If you cannot even focus on 3 words straight without hesitating about the next word, then imagine how hard it's going to be for them to believe that you are sure about the solution that you are providing and about your ability to even understand that they're a problem on a deeper level. The truth is that you don't need to move to another country to learn English and to perfect your English and to polish your English and to sound confident. Back in the day, I spent a couple of years in the US, but it's not that much time. My English was already good enough before I even stepped into the US. And you can also achieve this. You don't need to live abroad. You can create what I call an artificial immersion by making English basically the default language that you go back to. It's going to basically build the path of least resistance in your current environment. Now, how do you do this? Well, you basically just consume every single thing that you do in English, and you change all the software, all the apps. Basically, the most important thing is YouTube videos, podcasts, audiobooks, news, everything that you consume, you need to consume in English. If you like watching people react to movie reviews, you just watch those movie reviews from US, Canadians, just consume from the source. Go to the source. Also, I'm sure you've noticed that most of the successful leaders, influencers, and anybody who is like half decent to any craft in your native language, most likely they are copying and they are consuming content from Americans, because they are really the industry leaders that are moving things forward, especially if you want to become a high-ticket closer in the US. You want to sound the way that the prospects would be expecting from you. So this is how you do it. You can do this in two ways. You can write down every single thoughts, every single plan, every single problem that you have going on in your head. What this is going to do is this is going to train your brain to organize complex ideas and to dissect those ideas in English directly in your brain. Also, you can journal with voice notes. You can just record voice notes of yourself or videos of yourself talking to the camera. It's just for personal reference. I'm not saying that you should share this, which you can, but it's just for you to keep as a reference so that you can see the mistakes that you do. You can see all those little nuances, all those little stress patterns, pronunciation errors, gap fillers that you have going on, so that you can catch them and be aware of them. Because I'm telling you, like 95% of the people that make mistakes, they don't even know that they're making mistakes. That's a problem. That they're just aware that they make mistakes, but if you are like put them on the spot and you go and ask them, hey, listen, do you even know? Can you like list out the top 10, 20 mistakes that you make in a recurring basis? They will tell you, I don't know. I mean, I noticed I say this. Maybe they can list out 1 or 2 or 3, but they will not be able to tell you like the top 10, 20 mistakes. You can do this. You can actually do this if you actually record yourself, both in text and video and audio, so that you can actually review and study your own mistakes. Because guess what? When you study something, you have the ability to correct it. You want to make your brain start to choose basically English as the automatic way to think. The only way to do this is to consume everything in English, do everything in English, and to think everything in English. You want to basically tune out your local part of the brain. If you do silent practice, it creates a false sense of fluency, which disappears under pressure. If you don't practice with other people and you let people tell you the mistakes that you're making, then you really don't know if you're going to be able to perform under pressure. And this is the key, because on sales, you're always under pressure. So you want to put yourself in a position that you are forced to use English language and English structures, and you want to be able to come up with the right word at the right moment on the right context every single time under pressure. Because pressure is really what's going to determine if that idea or that expression is already landed in your brain. You want to speak to yourself constantly in the day in English. You want to like think about your thoughts out loud. You want to actually name and label the things that you do. One thing that I like doing is planning. Like when you plan things in English, you're forced to put a label to things and to say, so how do I say this exactly? How would I like put this into words in a very specific way so that I know how to reference this in the future, right? You want to verbalize your internal thoughts. You want to create sort of a direct brain connections by linking English words to images. Now, the way to do this is obviously having with flashcards and images. For example, like something that I like doing is when you don't know how to understand an expression, maybe you can go to websites like Youglish and you can actually see the person doing something like in real life, and you can see the way they're moving or the kind of situation where they are using that specific expression, so that you actually put like a visual cue. You make a visual connection about the expression. Also, you want to connect words with real world objects, right? And experiences. One thing I like doing is like, for example, like if you learn a new expression, take a snapshot with your phone about the situation where you learn the expression. For example, like if you're watching a movie, a TV show, or you're watching a YouTube video, and then a new expression pops up that you never heard of, just take a snapshot of the YouTube video, of the movie, of the TV show, so that you can remember the situation. That way, that will help you keep it in your brain, so that next time that you want to use that expression, you go back to that image and say, oh, I remember that YouTube video from this guy or from that movie, right? The main thing here is the daily integration. You want to come up with a way so that English use comes to you easily. You want to basically make it part of your day-to-day. You don't want to make it like long study sessions. Today I want to listen to this podcast because I really like this guy and I want to learn a few of the main concepts that he brings up on this podcast. So just come up with your own video. You can record yourself talking about those concepts. So this is a great way to actually implement it in a natural and organic way into your day-to-day. Also, you can just integrate it into like your daily tasks, like doing chores, getting dressed. You want to like, just when you walk around, you want to listen to a podcast, an audiobook, you want to listen to a YouTube video. You can like come up with ideas for your next YouTube video, which is something that I really recommend, that you start recording YouTube videos yourself, talking about the things that you're learning, because for one, that's going to keep you accountable about the progress that you're making. And also, it's going to give you feedback from the people that are watching those videos. Also, another thing is process your feelings, like the ability to process your feelings in English. And this is hard, but this is hard because this goes deeper. But if you can actually pull this off, this is a clear indicator you are progressing way faster than you think. If you can actually start thinking in English and like putting together your ideas in English when you start feeling stressed, excited, or frustrated, then that means that you're building up an emotional comfort. This is going to prevent you from reverting to your native language under pressure. Emotions are like the deepest levels of language implementation. When you are able to like get mad in English, or show empathy, show excitement, or show frustration in English, you're telling your brain, this is the language that I'm using now. So if you are able to do that, not only you're gonna be able to perform better with your English under pressure, it'll be easier for you to understand the emotional pain that the prospects are going through, because you can already feel and think in those situations. Also, you want to transform from a subject who study English into the tool that you use. You want English to become the transparent and automatic language of your thoughts. Changing these neural pathways in your brain, changing these connections really takes time. Your level of progress is going to really depend on your level of investment and immersion that you're going to make onto doing every single thing. Like, I know people that if you just literally just do everything in English and you spend consuming and using English 14 hours a day, then of course you're gonna advance at a way higher pace compared to someone who spends 1 hour a day consuming stuff in English, right? A realistic timeline for moving from translating in your head to like a more natural flow of English use is 90 days. So if you actually consistently practice every single day, let's just say 2 to 8 hours a day. Now, let's talk about what to expect from this transformation, because something that I see that a lot of closers are concerned about is because they want to have expectations, right? So that they can, well, for one, stay motivated, because at the beginning, like always, your progress is going to be slower, right? The first 3 weeks or so of consistent practice, you are consciously fighting the urge to translate. So this is the hardest phase by far. On these first 3 weeks, you always want to go back to your native language. This is the language where you feel the most confident in and the most comfortable with. You want to avoid this like the plague. This really starts kicking in on weeks 4 to 8. Like, this is when really English words begin appearing in your mind without translation. So you start overcoming this middleman, which is your native language. And then on the third month, this is really when you are achieving the flow that you are really looking for. This is really when English becomes the automatic and the default internal voice for specific types of thinking. And this is where you want to end up on. Now, for some people, it might take a few more months. But trust me, if you keep implementing all of these tips that I'm giving you here, trust me, this is going to happen. It's a matter of time. People over-rely on translation apps. You don't want to keep translating every single thing that you find so that you can know 100% what it means in your native language. This is a habit that prevents this direct comprehension. I know this sounds counterintuitive most of the times, because you see, in schools and language schools and stuff like that, they always want to tell you that you need to know the word in your native language, because when you know the word, that means that you really understand. I have used many different expressions and phrasal verbs, which is a huge deal too. Hundreds of phrasal verbs, which I really don't know exactly how to translate them into Spanish. And this could happen in any language, in Portuguese, in German, in French, or whatever. What you need to do is to really understand the word in context and understand what the word means. You want to understand the meaning. You want to basically fight and resist the urge to translate. One last thing I want to tell you is that you need to embrace the discomfort that you feel when you cannot translate the word in your brain. Because this is really the only way that you can actually overcome this problem where you are always translating. You should be happy enough with with understanding the context. Now, once you understand the context, you want to understand the nuance. Why is this person using this specifically? You want to put yourself in high-stakes situations so that you can actually know for a fact that you can use those new learned expressions in any situation. Now, when you find yourself in a sales call and you're so focused on providing the help and the assistance and the value that the prospect is looking for without really thinking about how to say the perfect sentence, that's when you know that you are actually making the progress that you need to. Direct English thinking allows you to be authentic, natural, and persuasive in real conversations with real financial consequences. When you think directly in English, you can respond to unexpected questions and objections instantly, which is really a critical skill if you want to become a successful high-ticket closer in the US market. Great closers can think and respond in real time without language barriers, and eliminating the translation delay makes you genuinely more persuasive. I want you today to change all your phone apps and all your computer apps to English and commit to the process. I want you to consume as many videos as you can on YouTube and to listen to podcasts every single day and to try to come up with a list of new expressions and try to use them on videos, recording yourself so that you can start transforming your communication and your closing rate as soon as possible.